Well, hello everyone. It's Andrew McKee, the Irish Bard, here again with Fair Life on Life's a Fair. Just want to check in and make sure everybody can hear me okay. Not that I'm paranoid these days, but a couple of weeks ago there was an audio issue, so I'm just making sure. No pressure. Everything should be fine these days. I've got a mic and a backup mic, so we should be good to go. But just checking. And hey, Jan, great to see you, as always. Yeah. It has been an... Oh, good. Jan can hear me, so that's a good sign. It has been an interesting week, as always, because not only... Thanks, Janine and Damaris. Not only have I, well, been going on with lots of different projects, but I've also been getting ready for Dragon Con. I've been packing like crazy for that. Logistics, I will say this. For those of you that are familiar with Dragon Con, you know what I'm talking about. For those that are not, it's the largest sci-fi fantasy convention in the country. I mean, Comic-Con does other things too, but if it's just sci-fi fantasy, Dragon Con is the biggest. It is in downtown Atlanta, Georgia, and usually it's somewhere around 60, 70,000 plus people in the 5 largest hotels and other areas in downtown Atlanta. So a bit on the nuts side, definitely. Uh, so yeah, it's definitely interesting, and I have been getting ready for it. Logistically, over 20 years, with 20 years of doing music like I have, Dragon Con is the most difficult thing to prepare for by far. It has things constantly change. You don't just deal with one person when you're booking and setting up shows and doing all these things. You deal with many people. It's I always describe Dragon Con as a many-headed dragon. You have to deal with all of these different heads at once, and even if you think you deal with one, sometimes it's like you cut it off and 2 more form in its spot. It's like a hydra. It's yeah, very very Greek mythology there. I'm not lying. It's a bit nuts, but I always say I love Dragon Con. It's a lot of fun, but the weeks leading up to it are some of the most stressful of my year. But we're almost there, so I'll be leaving in a couple of days and heading up to Atlanta. So should be interesting. Um, oh yeah, right. They do have some virtual stuff. Thanks, Kat. That is very true. Um, so yes, it is. They are doing some virtual things online, so that is something to check out. And I will be reporting a lot from Dragon Con. I think Mark and I, as the Brobdingnagian Bards, are going to do a little show at some point, maybe Thursday night. We'll see. And I'll try to do this again on Monday night. So from a hotel there in Atlanta. Hopefully their internet will be good enough. We shall see on that too. But you know how that is. This is always the danger of doing a weekly show like this, the worry about what it's going to be like on the road. And I've researched different internet options on the road, whether it's hotspot plans for unlimited internet connections or going through my phone or whatever. And there are pros and cons to all of it. I'm still looking, but it will be interesting. Thanks, Jack. I will bend like a reed in the wind. Now, I know this is a little different than Ren fairs, but like I've said before on the show in weeks past, there's a lot of crossover between conventions and Ren fairs. When you go to Ren fairs, you will see people dressed up in their cosplay garb as their favorite fantasy or sci-fi characters sometimes. The old classic joke or trope, I guess you'd say, with Ren fair, it's dating back to the 80s, I think. I first heard this in the mid-90s, but I know it's older than that, is the group dressed up in Star Trek garb with their tricorders, pretending that they just landed and found a new, a primitive civilization that they're analyzing as they go, and sampling the food and trying to understand it. So yeah, that's there's been crossover for many years, so it's not that strange. And of course, if you're going to be a successful performer, diversification is a must. So I do a few conventions, and the rest mostly fairs, though. But after this, I will be jumping on to Dragon Con, coming right back, doing the Sherwood Celtic Festival the weekend after that. Then I'll be on the road again, going to Indianapolis for Gen Con. So, yeah, then I'll have a little time off to get some stuff together and work on some things, and then it's the Louisiana Ren Fair. So, back to Ren Fairs again. And hey, good evening, Mark. Great to see you. Yeah, Damaris, I'm really looking forward to seeing how it goes on the road, too. I think I have a good laptop setup. You can see behind me. Yay. Good laptop setup that will work well. It's actually as powerful as my desktop, so that's not a problem. The video card can handle any of the encodes and dual stream. The only issue is going to be the bandwidth. So that's what I'm going to be testing. I'll have my cell phone. I'll have the hotel internet. We'll see. I'm not that confident that the hotel internet will get the job done because their upload speeds are normally abysmal. But we'll see. We'll see. Oh, nice. Nice, Kat. Thanks for putting that link up. Excellent. Oh. And Susan, yes, the green light. Honestly, that stemmed from, I usually have a blue light too. I just forgot to turn that on, do one of each. But yeah, when I first started doing this, really started, oh gosh, I guess it was about 1.5 years ago now, when the pandemic started and Life's a Fair started. I was looking at other online shows, and they often put some LED lights behind them just to kind of give it some character. And I thought it's probably not a good idea to do it all the time because I don't know how Renaissance that feel is. But for a show like this, I thought, yeah, I think it would probably add a little depth and a little color to the video. So I tried it. And yeah, I've been keeping up with that just to add what I could. And of course, green and blue, those are kind of my colors. No, I know it's shocking, but it's true. Yes, I'm going to take advantage of my eye color as much as I possibly can. So I wear a lot of blue and some green to offset it. Right, I know. That's why I always prefer the green, because you need that contrast. Susan, you are totally right. Totally right. You're not wrong. So, yeah, that's been a lot of, well, actually the last several weeks dealing with figuring everything out for Dragon Con. It's strange, and I can't really express this enough. When you deal, one of the great things about Ren Fairs as a performer, and anybody who's done a lot of Ren Fairs talks about this, is the whole block booking concept. When you're a musician, you normally, okay, I'm booked this gig at this place on a Friday, I've booked this gig at this place on a Saturday, and you're dealing with a different person each time. With Ren Fairs, you have, 4, 6, 8 straight weekends all booked, and you did it all with dealing with one person, one contract, one setup, and boom, you have it all done. It's a lot easier. And all of a sudden, you've handled maybe 10, 15% of your year dealing with one person. And with Dragon Con, wow, I deal with at least 10 people about gigs, others about different things. So it's usually about 20 people all trying to juggle the shows around each other and figure it all out. And it's crazy. There's nothing else like it. I'm not faulting them because that's how it's always been. That's how it was set up. And they do a really good job considering most of the people involved are volunteers. I mean, they do a phenomenal job, but it is very stressful. Yeah, I have had situations where the programming director calls me on Sunday morning frantically asking for a favor. That happened that happened a week ago, as a matter of fact. So, to me. And I've had a situation where a weekend, everything was so messed up, the con director himself, nobody else knew what to do, so they put me in touch with him, and I called him directly to get everything resolved. And it was their fault, so he apologized and said, yeah, nobody told you to do this, I'll take care of it. And he took care of it. So it can be crazy. It can be very crazy. Oh, and hey Kathy and Jeremy. Yeah, Janine, you're right. Green and blue are among the most popular favorite colors, and But for me, a lot of it is, I think part of it is my gender. Being a boy growing up, blue was a popular color to throw at me, and I think I just embraced it. But also the eyes. I mean, clothes I wore, people kept saying, "Oh, well, that goes great with your eyes." So I just kind of latched onto that. And green was sort of the Irish thing I latched onto later. Not so much. I didn't wear much green when I was younger, but with the doing Irish music a lot, yeah, that's why I latched onto green. And yeah, Jack, yeah, booking. you know, if you ever want to have a conversation about how to do booking, I could give you some good tips on that. I don't know if this is the best venue for it, but when I first started with booking, I was not very good at it either. It was tough. In fact, when Mark and I first started the Brobdingnagian and Bards, for the first year or so, my father did the booking for us. Little known fact. Yeah, and it was great. He helped a lot. He was an accountant with an auditor with a personality and a sense of humor, and he was great at communicating. So he took care of it and helped us out a lot early on. And eventually we kind of, I kind of started taking over the booking because Mark was more the marketing, and we kind of separated our jobs, which is one of the best parts about having a band. As a solo act, I have to do everything myself for the most part, or hire somebody to do it. When you're in a group, you can divvy up. It's a lot easier. So that's where it makes a little more sense to divvy up that money between band members after a show. Yeah, Jeremy, an interesting tidbit. I read that red, okay, that was an inadvertent joke there. Red is the best color to have as a dominant color on CDs. Dominant red color CD covers sell the best. I know, there was a study a while ago, and that was interesting. So you'll notice that some of the CDs I've released in the past with the Bards and everything, the Brobdingnagian Bards, red is a dominant color, and that's one of the reasons why. Yeah. Oh, Jessica, hey, thanks for being on here. Haven't seen you in a while. But yeah, my dad's great. He is really a nice guy. Jeremy, yeah, orange, that is a tough one, and I have suffered through that because I went to the University of Texas at Austin, and their school color is burnt orange. Not even the better oranges, it's burnt orange. So yeah, yeah, that was tough. I had to get used to that. That took a few years. As a freshman, I bought a blue shirt with University of Texas on it. They do sell those, but yeah, I mean, you couldn't get a red one because that's way too close to Texas A&M back then, and that wasn't happening. But blue you could. It was one of the only other colors you could get. But I gradually got used to orange because of that. That's an interesting question. How picking a color for your act? I mean, that is not an easy thing. Because there's so many different ways to go, and you want to go something that complements you as a person, that will look good on you and around you, but it's also theming. I mean, it goes with your brand, and it is not an easy thing. I personally believe you can try a lot of different things and see how it goes. Try a color for a while, try a different color for a while, and honestly, I think having a group like you out there to say, okay, for this week, everything's going to be this color, and you're going to try it and see what people think, and start getting a response from the fans, or the friends, or the people that watch. I mean, that see you, and start coming up with that response to see which works the best. Yeah, Susan, I know some people really like burnt orange. Bethany apparently likes or Damaris likes burnt orange. Yeah, I mean, I'm used to it now, so I don't mind it, but I don't love it. I don't hate it either, but I believe me, when I was a freshman in college, did not like it. I was not happy with the school color. Not gonna lie, but it, like a lot of things do at school, it grew on me. And Chris is asking about, I mentioned that a little earlier, I think, at the beginning, right before you got on. Yeah, I'm gonna try. Next Monday, I'm going to try to do an online show again with this Monday night in the hotel. I may be using the signal from my cell phone. I may be trying the hotel wireless. I don't know. We shall see. I'm going to do some testing. My laptop is good enough to handle it, and I'll be bringing my equipment, so I can at least do a basic one, and I'll give that a try. If it works, great. If not, if it works a little I might have to keep it short. I think at the very least my cell phone will... The video quality might not be the best, but it'll at least work. So if that's the case, I'll keep it short. But I think it'll be okay. Right, right. Janine, you're right. And that's another interesting point. A lot of vendors, and you'll see this at Dragon Con especially, because there are a lot of t-shirt vendors at Dragon Con, and they do really well because they have some really funny, cool t-shirts. But yeah, most of them are black. Some are white. But especially convention shirts, black is by far the most popular color. And it's a shame because I think originally, I mean, for those of you that remember, over 20 years ago, the most popular t-shirt color by far was white. I mean, that was the color that most people got. But that kind of changed. And very interesting how black seemed to supplant that as a popular color, and not quite sure. I mean, I think there are several reasons for it. Part of it was to say, hey, I don't just wear a normal t-shirt, and it became the alternative rebel color, and now it's become the dominant one. And you're right, Jan, black shirts not so good in Texas in the summer. But, let's be honest, Texas in the summer, you don't stay outside for very long if you can help it. So black shirts are okay because you only have to wear it as long as it takes to get out your front door to the car. And, outside of the car to wherever, the grocery store or whatever, because you're not staying outside for very long in the summer in Texas. Definitely not. You're right, Jack. Yeah, white was the only t-shirt color. I mean, occasionally you'd get a different color, just because, like a tie-dye thing or something. People would try some weird stuff, but yeah. Oh, and Damaris apparently big fan of black clothes. Maybe a little bit of a goth background, maybe, I don't know, but yeah, that's. There are people that really embrace dark colors, and others embrace really bright light colors, and it just, there's not a right or wrong, and that's what I kind of meant earlier. You want to see not only what matches your personality, but also what looks good on you, and there's usually not just one answer to that, so it's good to find out. Oh, nice. Okay. Cat, bright colors, nice. Always good. Right. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know. For me, I've never really thought of black as being a huge problem in the summer, because if it's that hot, I could wear a white shirt and it's not going to keep me from sweating. Let's just be honest here. At this point, you just accept it. You're going to be sweating and go with it, or you don't. And that slight difference that the color of your shirt is going to make, it's not going to be enough for me to really worry about it. I mean, maybe if I'm outside all day, like if I was mowing the yard or something, I wouldn't wear a black shirt, but for 5-10 minutes, it's not worth it to me. Oh, Kathy, earth tones, nice. That is a popular one. Yeah, I mean, I grew up in the 80s, so I have that vague memory of the pastels that were popular then. I did not follow them. I did not go with those. I was not really one of the cool kids either. No. Shocking, but true. Shocking, but true. Oh my. Oh yeah, I guess I should go ahead and talk about the fairs going on now, because we have hit that explosion of fall fairs that I kept telling y'all about for the last few months. Yeah, the summer is now done, and we're hitting Labor Day weekend when the fairs really get going. And I think the map's going to show that a little bit. Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty obvious. Let me see. Okay, here we go. Yeah, you can see a good splattering of fair. I think that's what we're calling. Okay, Jeremy, I'm going to give you that. There were neon, but there were a lot of pastels. It depended on who it depended on if you were more of a yuppie, pastels. If you're more of a rebel, neon. It just depended. But yeah, let's see. A whole splattering of fairs going on, especially in the Northeast and the Northern Midwest. And I think that's partly because this is when you start getting that fall time, when the temperatures start getting a little lower. It's going to be hot for the next few weeks, but not as hot as it is down in Texas for the most part, or the rest of the South. So thank you. I like that. A splattering affair, Damaris. Yeah, I try to throw that around as much as I can. Wow, Jeremy, Miami Vice had neon. Oh, they also had pastel. I mean, did you see some of those shirts? Seriously? I mean, like the blues and the pinks. Yeah, those were pastel. Okay, yeah, thank you, Jeremy. Yes, I was about to say. And Janine, you're right. Yeah, black absorbs more solar heat, but it just depends. Unless you're going outside for a long time, I don't think it's going to make a difference. But yes. So the splattering affairs. I mean, this is. I mean, especially New England around there. Really, yeah, a nice grouping, and it's that nice fall schedule that fair performers really love. Just a lot of fun. So let's just jump up here and say still a few that have been going on, like Bristol and Renaissance Festival in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and the Michigan Renaissance Festival in Holly, Michigan, is going on, and then of course Minnesota Renaissance Festival and Shakopee, Minnesota. Oh, I'm going to suck at some of these names in the north pretty soon. Yeah, I remember when I went to a convention in Long Island and Ronkonkoma, and took me a while to say that one. Okay, but we also started with Kansas City Renaissance Festival in Bonner Springs, Kansas. So that's always exciting. And of course the Pennsylvania Renaissance Festival in Mannheim, Pennsylvania is still going on. But we also added the Pittsburgh Renaissance Festival in West Newton, Pennsylvania. And just a little northeast of that, we have the New York Renaissance Fair again in Tuxedo Park, New York. And we're also going to, let's just jump over to Connecticut and say in Lebanon, Connecticut, the Connecticut Renaissance Fair is starting. So that's great news. And Massachusetts, we have in Carver, Massachusetts, the King Richard's Fair. So that's excitement. And okay, going back over to the Midwest, let's go to Ohio Renaissance Festival in Waynesville, Ohio. And the Renaissance Fair at Sleepy Hollow in Des Moines, Iowa. So that's kind of nice. And I almost missed Maryland. We have the Maryland Renaissance Festival in Annapolis, Maryland. And one all the way down in Texas. So, yeah, just in the northeast part of Texas, Mount Pleasant, Texas, the Canterbury Renaissance Festival of Northeast Texas. Not to be confused with the Canterbury Renaissance Festival of Northwest Texas, because there's not one. But for some reason, they wanted to call it that. But hey, there's nothing wrong with specificity, as I always say. Wow. Yes. Oh no, Susan, you can't. Yep, I'm sorry you can't come down to the U.S. yet, but this will be going for a while. So here's hoping things change. And yes, Jeremy, there is Canterbury Renaissance Festival of Northeast Texas on the map. It is there. So definitely the only Southern fair going on this weekend. So give it some props for going outside the box and trying this early. Because, like I've said before, the South, they tend to go a little later in the fall, and just because of the heat. Northeast Texas, it's still going to be warm, but honestly, we've had a pretty mild winter in Texas. Mild summer in Texas this year. So, yeah, I don't think it'll be too bad. Very good. Oh, Jeremy, you did the first year? I did not know that. I'm going to have to ask. Actually, go ahead and say it. I'd like to hear what you thought about it, because I have not been there, and I really haven't heard any reports on it. What did you think? What did you think about the Canterbury Renaissance Festival of Northeast Texas? They have large grounds. That's great. And Jack, not sure in the oven counts as outside the box. Well, okay. Like I said, it's been a mild summer, so I don't think it's going to be that bad. Of course, to Texans, 92 is not hot. It's when you get to over 100, that's when you're like, oh no. But I think in Austin, at least, we've had maybe 300-degree days this whole summer. Something like that, which is ridiculous. I mean, that's very low. So, yeah, it's been very nice this year, all things considered. So large grounds. Well, that's always a good bonus when you have large grounds, especially during a pandemic. You don't have to worry about everybody clumping together. That is nice. Um, oh, wow. Okay. And they have spots for the performers to stay too. That sounds great. Well, I wish them a lot of luck. I hope they do well. And Northeast Texas, hasn't always been the best for fairs. Like Four Winds was there for a while, and they eventually shut down. And I'd like to. I hope this one lasts and grows. But that sounds like a great start, Jeremy. I hope it works out. Uh, okay, so the first year had grueling heat, but yeah, like I think the last couple of years has been pretty mild summer wise in Texas. But this year was really nice. I hope it keeps up because there was that there was that year several years ago where we had a whole month of 100-degree weather. Oh, that was not fun. That was not fun. Anyway, so this is the fairs we have coming up. Really, really exciting. It's just going to keep growing. It will just keep going that way. A lot of fun, just just to see all of that, and it after last year and the pandemic and all of the canceled fairs and everything. It's a good feeling to see all of these fairs opening. I hope they try to be as safe as possible, and some mask mandates and all of that. Some states are certainly a little safer than others, but always be careful and be cautious if you go. Yeah, I think it was 2011. That sounds right, Jan. It was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. Yeah, and I there was like 1 month, Jan. I remember where it was the entire month was that way. Like there wasn't like that one day off in the middle. It was the entire month was I think it was July or something was all 100 degrees. It was nuts, totally nuts. Ugh. But hopefully that's not going to happen anytime soon. Well, for 7 reasons this week, I'll be honest. I've been mostly working on logistics and packing and doing that. So I got inspired by what I was doing. I know that never happens to me, but I got inspired and I thought, okay, let's do the 7 things you should worry about making sure you pack for a road trip to Faire. It works for conventions too, but just, yeah, I mean, things you need to remember to bring, or at least make sure you brought just in case. And yeah, I mean, having done this for many years, I think this is a good list. Some, of course, trips to a fair are 15 minutes down the road and you're there. Others, you're waking up really early and leaving at 5:30 a.m. to drive 2.5 hours to get to a fair soon before it opens. So I've been there too. Yeah, it is pretty nuts. Pretty nuts. Well, garb. Okay, for me, Damaris, I wear my garb when I leave, so I think you're right. But yeah, if you change when you get there, okay, I can grant you that. But yeah, I really didn't think about garb as a problem because, well, you should probably do that. So yes, number seven, water or food. Now, especially on long trips, you never know what'll happen. You get a flat tire, car breaks down. You might be stuck there for a few hours. You never know. You might get to Faire and there's parking craziness, bad weather. You might be in the parking lot for a while, or you can't enter the Faire yet. So having a snack of something is good. Just a power bar and some water, something is a good idea. And Some fairs will actually let you bring in small amounts of food, or you can smuggle some in, depending on what you have. Some don't, but it's worth checking, and I think that's always a good idea. Always a good idea. Well, Jeremy, I'm trying to think for everybody else. If for performers, yes, definitely instruments are important. Yes, definitely important. Oh my gosh, she said Texas Instruments. Very funny. Okay, this is good, Susan. Wow. Yes, my Texas Instruments. Oh, wow. As long as they can do a square root, you're good to go. Number 6, flashlight. Now, I know this seems counterintuitive these days. Well, what? Here, yeah, everybody has a phone that has their has a flashlight on there, but especially at the end of the day, yeah, I mean, you don't. Sometimes your battery dies, or it's really low, and you're trying to get back to your car, and not all parking lots are lit at fairs. Some are, and more now than used to be, for sure. But there's a lot that are. It's really dark out there. So if your phone happens to die, I think it's great to have a backup flashlight, a small little pin light, something that fits on your keychain, or you can put in your pocket or whatever. And it's a lot brighter, so it's a little safer too. Definitely a good idea. At the very least, keep one in your car because you never know. Yeah, and Kathy, you're right. It does get dark earlier. But yeah, that is always a good one. If you want a glow stick, hey, more power to you. Like, we can always go back to the neon discussion as the best color. I totally get it. Yeah, Jack, I know. With the TRF didn't have any lights, I was thinking about that too because I remember those days. But yeah, now it's pretty well lit. I think for the most part. I think there are a few sections that might not be as lit, but most of it is. Number 5, battery pack. Like I said before, phones. Well, yeah, phones, they die. I mean, especially when you're out in the middle of nowhere, where the cell phone signal is a little low. You might forget to shut off Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, and it's constantly searching for stuff, and it'll wear down your battery pretty quicker than you think. So having that battery pack to charge your phone and maybe your friend's phone, whoever you came with, it's a nice backup. And just remember to charge it the night before and have it ready to go. Because, especially if you want to stay, because sometimes you want to stay late at a fair. You want to hang out, and some fairs have started to have late night events. That sometimes shows or get-togethers or whatever, and you're really going into extra hours. So it's a good idea. It's definitely a good idea to have that. So yes. Number 4, listening material. No. I know. This is just for when you're on the road, but I think that putting yourself in the mood to go to fair is a really good thing. The ideal situation at fair is that you go through the gates and you hear the music of the Renaissance, you smell the food, you see the costumes, and all of a sudden you're magically teleported. That's the ideal. It doesn't always happen. Rain sometimes comes down, the musicians can't stay there, the food doesn't carry in the moisture, the smell, you can't really, you miss out on some of that. So I really think, listening to some good Renaissance music on the road, your favorite Ren groups, people you want to hear, it can be a good idea, a good way to get yourself in that zone. I'm a fan. Now, of course, for me, I would deal with music all the time, so I don't listen to that in the car. I'm going to be doing music all day long, so yeah, I do something else. There's always podcasts. There are some Ren Fair podcasts that you can check out. There's also audiobooks, that can kind of relax you and make the drive go by a little quicker, especially if you have a long drive of a few hours. It can be nice. It's like just reading a book. Now, I know not everybody's brains work that way, and audiobooks, sometimes it takes away too much concentration from driving, or they just don't process information well audibly. So audiobooks don't work for them. Perfectly valid and okay. But I think it's a good option for people that do. And yes, Jeremy was talking about the Renaissance Festival podcast. That is a good one. And they often have music in there too. So, um, oh yeah, well yeah, your playlist I'm sure is more medieval. You go old school, not Renaissance. No, that's too modern. That modern music. It's always good. But yeah, listening material. It's good for a road trip. Always good. Number three. Okay, tickets, coupons, etc., and ID. I I have forgotten my ID before when I went to Faire. And if you're a performer or working there, an employee, they usually give you an ID badge that you have to show in order to get in. It's a pass for you, so don't forget that. But if you're going to Faire, sometimes you pre-buy tickets. Sometimes you get coupons that you're going to use when you get there, when you buy there at the gate. I mean, whatever. Any paperwork you think you might need. I mean, these days you probably want to get a vaccination, your vaccination proof of. Bring that too everywhere you go. Just yeah, put that in. Uh, yeah, yes, that is just a good idea. I mean, ID is one a lot of people forget, and if you want to drink, somebody might card you, and you don't have an ID, you're not going to get alcohol, and yeah, that might bother some of you. So, yeah, totally. Jeremy, yes. I've been in the forgot your wallet. I mean, when you go to Faire a ridiculous number of times, it's going to happen sometime. So just especially early on, and when it happens, you start making a checklist, and it never happens again. So learn from our mistakes, everyone. Learn from our mistakes. You're right. Don't forget that wallet. Number two, weather gear. Now, I always like to talk a little bit about the weather for the fairs coming up, but yeah, I mean, if it's in the late fall, bring a warm coat. If there's any chance of rain at all, bring a raincoat, a poncho or something. Always have an umbrella in your car. That just makes sense. I mean, you never know, and it's good to be prepared with that. Yeah, but I mean, there's nothing wrong with going to Faire when it rains or when it's inclement weather. And some of my favorite Faire memories are when it rained or when it was snowing at Faire, and everything looked even more magical because snow was covering everything. But yeah, I mean, it's important to be prepared. So definitely do that. Definitely do that. And number one, well, this was already mentioned, I think, before. I think it was Susan who said so, but I'm not sure, but I think it was Susan. But definitely sunscreen. That's right. I mean, when you've done Faire long enough, you learn to stay in the shade, under the trees and tree cover, inside as much as you can during the day, because you do this enough, every percentage point of sunlight, of radiation coming from the sun, you can avoid. You do. You avoid that and stay covered. But for the rest of it, yeah, you want sunscreen as much as you can. And you want to have a good sunscreen that doesn't irritate your skin. You want to test that and be good about that. Now, some sunscreens these days are not good for you. Some of them, whether they're carcinogenic or not, is questionable, and that bothers me. Some of the components are banned in other countries, in Europe and sometimes, but in America they're not. Some for environmental concerns because the sunscreen actually harms coral in the ocean if you wear it out there. I don't know. It's a big issue. I tend to go with the classic sunscreens, the mineral-based sunscreens is what they're called, and find one that doesn't irritate your skin. So definitely a good idea. Definitely a good idea. Oh, right. Yes. You don't want the cold sunscreen. That's not fun. That is not fun. But yes, anybody who's done Faire for a while definitely uses sunscreen. But for you rookies out there, people who are still new to it, yeah, you're gonna forget, and you're gonna be out in the hot sun for longer than you think, and the sun's gonna be pouring down on you while you're watching that show that you really love, and 30 minutes later you're gonna be a little red and toasty. So put a liberal amount of sunscreen on, and if you can, bring it with you and reapply it a little bit on your face during the day. Don't forget those ears. That always gets me. So always a good idea. Well, I hope that was a good reminder for y'all. I know most of you in there know this already, But, if I helped anyone stay safe, then it's a good thing. And yes, Kathy, a hat is a very good idea. Unfortunately, there aren't many Renaissance style hats that protect you well from the sun. I've looked. Not authentic ones. There are a few, but not many. And they don't do a great job. I mean, that whole wide-brimmed hat, that wasn't a thing in England. It just wasn't. So at least not then. So yeah, that's tough. Hats are more about keeping your head warm. So yeah, that's a tough one. Oh my God, did Damaris just call me Uncle Andrew? Whew. Well, I know what nightmare I'm having tonight. Okay. Oh, right, a change of socks and shoes. That's actually not a bad idea too, Kat. I do bring that. I do bring shoes, socks, regular clothes. Often I don't change. I'll just go straight home in my garb or whatever, or where I'm staying and change there. I just go straight to a shower and feel better. But it's nice to have the option, and sometimes I will change into it. Oh, right. Susan is right. Any hat. Yeah, if you're worried about changing your hair color because it will be naturally bleached by the sun, any hat will help up with that. Definitely. Uh, oh, right. And all fairs are different. You're right, Janine. Some fairs have a lot of shade, others don't. It just depends. The trick is just trying to minimize it as much as you can. Every percentage point matters, is how I look at it. If you can be a little careful and you reduce your sun exposure by 5%, that's actually pretty huge. It might make the difference between getting burned and getting red. I mean, it could be that significant. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, the classic umbrellas that you'll see sold at Faire, those parasols, have been popular with women to kind of shield the sun a little bit and use that as opposed to a hat, and they do work fairly well. So that's been popular. The tough part is finding one that's large enough. I mean, some of them are a little on the small side, but they do make the larger ones. But yeah, oh well, yeah, it's already. Yeah, I know, Susan, they're not exactly Renaissance, but because of the sun, they got a little popular. You're right, it's actually going really late. I didn't mean to go this late, y'all. We kind of got on topic of logistics, and I've been thinking about that way too much this the last several weeks. So, yeah, I guess we'll go ahead and call it there and say goodnight to everybody. But yeah, thanks for joining me tonight, and I'll do my best to see you next week on Monday. When I will be in Atlanta, just after Dragon Con has ended for me. So I'll be able to give you some information about that. I don't know, maybe I can take some video and share some of that with you. My experiences at Dragon Con by Andrew McKee. Ooh. I'll see what I can do. Y'all take care.